Imagine this. I walk into the electronics showroom where my cousin works, and before I can even say a word, he shouts, "You shouldn't be here. You can't afford anything in this place." He waves for security, like I'm some intruder. But before they reach me, his manager steps out, takes one look at him, and says flatly, "This gentleman's Tesla has already been delivered, and you're fired." My cousin's arrogance turned into karma's reward, but that was only the beginning. Before we go on, don't forget to hit subscribe and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from right now. The Corolla's engine ticked softly as I parked by the curb. In the driveway sat Dylan's new Range Rover, gleaming beneath the fading orange light of a February evening. A display of pride as much as possession. He was there, microfiber in hand, tracing slow circles across the hood. He saw me approach, but didn't stop polishing. "Marcus, you're early," he said. "Just picked her up yesterday. Range Rover Sport. 115 grand. Can you believe it?" I shifted the small paper bag, holding gifts for the grandkids. "It's a beauty, Dylan. Are Mia and the kids inside?" He smirked, that familiar, smug half-grin I'd learned to recognize over the years. "They're inside. You can park on the street. Don't want your Corolla leaking oil on my driveway." Through the bay window, I caught Ethan and Lily waving. Their clothes made me pause. Ethan's T-shirt stretched thin at the collar, Lily's sleeves too short for her wrists. I waved back as Dylan positioned himself squarely between me and the door, forcing a few extra seconds of admiration for his prized machine. Inside, the scent of roasted chicken mixed with something sharp and artificial. Mia appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Her smile looked practiced. "Dad, so good to see you." She hugged me quickly, then stepped aside as Dylan followed, his presence filling the room. The dining area felt curated, expensive but impersonal. Modern art that didn't fit her taste. Designer chairs that looked better than they felt. Dylan claimed the head of the table, without hesitation. The kid sat across from me, silent but observant. "So, Marcus," he started, pouring himself a generous glass of wine without offering me any. "How's that apartment treating you?" "Still hear your neighbors arguing through the walls." "It works fine for me," I said. "Couldn't do it," he chuckled. "A man needs space. But I guess when you're older, you start shrinking your lifestyle. Right, babe?" Mia kept cutting her chicken carefully. "Everyone's situation is different," she murmured. Lily tried to ask me something, but Dylan spoke over her. "This Rover, Marcus. Twin-turbo V8, 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. But I don't expect you to care about that. Coming from what year's your Corolla again?" 2016. "Ha! Thought so. Classic." The conversation followed his rhythm, each topic another chance for him to measure value. He mentioned the car specs at least 3 times. When Lily finally got a question in about my week, he cut her off again. "Must be weird, all that free time now that you retired. Guess that's what happens after decades behind the counter. Huh. I'd owned a thriving home supply business for nearly 40 years before selling it in 2022. But Dylan preferred his own version of events. I watched Mia refill his glass before it was empty, automatic like muscle memory. This wasn't the daughter who debated ideas with me over coffee, who dreamed about teaching art, who'd once questioned everything. "Actually," I said, "I've been thinking about Ethan's schooling. Your mom mentioned he's struggling a bit in math. I was looking into some tutoring options, maybe a smaller class environment. I'd be glad to help." Dylan set his fork down with deliberate precision. "We provide for our kids, Marcus. We don't need help." "It's not help," I said evenly. "It's support from their grandfather. We're fine. We don't need handouts from someone renting a 1-bedroom on a fixed income." The temperature in his voice dropped. Controlled. Cutting. Mia's fork hovered halfway to her mouth, then continued its quiet path. She didn't look up. No defense. No protest. The kids kept their eyes on their plates. 3 times during that dinner, she could have spoken. 3 chances to bridge the silence. She took none of them. After the meal, I asked if I could see the kids' rooms. Lily's desk drawer was patched with duct tape. Ethan's sneakers under the bed were worn clear through at the soles. But through the half-open door of the master bedroom, I saw the California King, immaculate white bedding. Price tag still dangling from the corner of the duvet. $1,000. The tag fluttered softly in the air conditioning. In the hallway, Lily tugged my sleeve. "Grandpa, do you like Dad's new car?" "It's nice, sweetheart. How's school?" "Good," she said. "Dad says maybe new shoes next month." I glanced at her sneakers, canvas splitting, edges curling. "Next month?" "Yeah, the car payment comes first." "It's okay. These still fit." In the living room, Dylan scrolled through his phone. "Thanks for dinner," I said. "I'll call next week about Mia." He didn't look up. "We'll see. We're busy people. Not everyone has unlimited time in retirement." "Dylan, I'd like to spend more time with my grandkids." "We'll see. Bye, Marcus." He turned away. The conversation was over before it began. As I walked toward my car, I saw his arm slide around Mia's waist to the window, possessive, commanding. She leaned in slightly. Or maybe she just didn't resist. The drive back to Southridge took 25 minutes. My apartment welcomed me with its usual stillness. Small, yes, but efficient. Everything had its purpose. Nothing wasted. I brewed tea, sat at my desk. The glow of the laptop filled the room with a soft blue light. My banking app loaded slowly. Balance: 2,384,732.81. 18 months ago, I'd sold my business, Haven Tools, for just over $25 million. Investments, discipline, and time had shaped that number since. I closed the laptop halfway and stared at the framed photo on the wall. Haven Tools grand opening, 1988. I was 31. My father's watch on my wrist. The shop sign painted by my own hand. I'd built something. And Dylan, like so many, mistook simplicity for struggle. Mia had stopped asking about finances years ago. She probably believed what he told her, that I'd wasted it all somehow. I opened a new document. Title: Family Notes, February 2025. Entries: children's clothing condition, luxury furnishings, vehicle upgrades, spending behavior. Tomorrow I decided I'd start observing more closely. Not with anger. Emotion clouds clarity, but with precision. The kind I'd honed analyzing supplier reports and market trends for 4 decades. Dylan had made a mistake. He assumed I was done, that I'd stopped paying attention. I created a password-protected folder and saved the document. Then I shut down the laptop and turned in for the night. Sleep was slow to come. Images flickered. Duct-taped drawers, shredded sneakers, a dangling price tag, swinging gently in the cold air. 3 days later, I sat at my desk again. Morning light stretched across the keyboard. My coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Since 6 a.m., I've been researching private investigators in Miami-Dade County, reading reviews, checking licenses, digging through complaint databases. Old habits never die. Always vet your contractors. By 9, I'd narrowed it down to 3. The first promised a moon without listening. The second quoted double the fare rate. The third, Marcus Reynolds, was different, professional, measured. We agreed to meet that afternoon at a cafe in Coconut Grove, neutral ground, halfway between Coral Gables and Southridge. Public, but private enough for real talk. I arrived 15 minutes early, chose a corner table. He appeared exactly on time, mid-50s, gray streaks in his hair, press shirt, plain watch. He ordered a black coffee and got right to it. "You said this was family-related." I like that, direct, efficient. "I need information on my son-in-law," I said. "His spending doesn't match his salary. My daughter is different lately. I want facts, not guesses." "What are you hoping to find?" "He's either hiding money or hiding debt. I need to know which." Reynolds opened a small notebook. 2 weeks. Full surveillance and financial background. 3,500 total. I'll need his vehicle info, work schedule, and typical routines. I prepared everything the night before. Handwritten, 1 sheet. Dylan's job at Prime Auto Group. The Range Rover's plate, his lunch habits. I slid it across the table. Half now, half when the report's complete. Updates daily. No written trails until final delivery. He nodded. Cash preferred. I handed him an envelope. $2,000. We shook hands. He left first. I stayed behind, sipping what was left of my cold coffee, watching him pull away in an unmarked sedan. Professional. Discreet. Exactly what I needed. The days crawled. Reynolds sent short text updates. Subject at dealership. Lunch routine consistent. Evening movements observed. No conclusions yet, just steady progress. I kept my usual schedule. Grocery run on Tuesday. Library Thursday. Evening walks, same route. If anyone was watching, they'd see nothing out of place. 10 days in, my phone buzzed. Reynolds, we should meet. Same place. 2 p.m. The folder Reynolds placed on the table was thicker than I'd expected. Inside, time-stamped photographs. Dylan with a younger woman. Late 20s, neatly dressed, confident posture. 3 different restaurants. 2 hotels. No ambiguity in their gestures. His hand on her lower back. Their faces close over dinner. Her fingers resting lightly on his wrist. Her name's Vanessa Cruz, Reynolds said. Sales consultant at his dealership. Based on observed behavior and digital trails. I'd say 8, maybe 9 months. I examined each photo slowly, methodically, eyes detached, mind cataloging evidence, not emotion. Zuma, Casa Tua Morton's, Four Seasons, twice. Mandarin Oriental once. Notice, Reynolds continued, he uses a secondary credit card for these expenses. It's not tied to any of the family accounts. He slid another packet across the table. Financials. Inside, statements, summaries, debt logs. Personal loans totaling about $65,000 from multiple lenders. Credit cards maxed out. Combined with the mortgage and vehicle loans. Total household debt hovered near $350,000. I exhaled slowly. Does my daughter know about the loans? Reynolds shook his head. No record of shared access. He's managing them separately. That means either he's supplementing income off the books or he's juggling debt to hide the shortfall. What's your read? Reynolds leaned back. He's financing 2 lives. Family on one hand, affair on the other. The math doesn't sustain both. It's a fragile setup, one disruption, and it all collapses. I counted out $1,700 in cash, handed it to him. Thank you, I said quietly. He nodded, professional as ever. Driving home, the folder sat on the passenger seat beside me. Heavy not with paper, but with clarity. But I needed to see it myself, to feel it. The following Tuesday, I parked outside Berkeley House, a restaurant Reynolds had listed in his surveillance notes. 11:30 a.m., half an hour before Dylan's usual lunch arrival. I ordered black coffee at the bar, chose a seat with mirrored angle to the dining area. At 12:15, he appeared, Vanessa at his side, laughing, his hand resting at the small of her back, the same controlling gesture he used with Mia. He pulled out her chair, ordered wine, without looking at the menu, leaned close as she spoke. I angled my phone casually, pretending to scroll. Snapped quiet photos, reflections, fragments. In one, his wedding ring caught the light, visible as his fingers intertwined with hers across the linen tablecloth. The sommelier presented a bottle, $110. Dylan nodded without caring. This was a man burying his family in debt to fund vanity and deceit. And neither woman, wife nor mistress, understood the arithmetic closing in. I left $20 for my $8 coffee and walked out before they noticed. That night, I laid everything out across my desk. Reynolds's file, my photographs, financial printouts. I drew a timeline. Affair, 8 months ago. Debt spike, 6 months ago. Range Rover, 1 month ago. The pattern was linear, predictable. Curiosity turned analytical. I researched Prime Auto Group, the dealership, their staff list, ownership records, inventory turnover. Owner, Matthew Webb. Second-generation operator. Known for discretion with high-end clients. And buried deep in the online listings, I found it, a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, 7 months unsold, $470,000. An eyesore for a luxury dealer. A missed commission worth maybe 40 to 50,000. And Dylan? He was a senior sales manager who couldn't move it. What if a new buyer appeared? One who insisted on dealing directly with Webb, quietly, privately. What if that buyer was me? I opened a blank email, each word deliberate. Professional investors seeking acquisition of investment-grade vehicle for private collection. Immediate purchase possible. Confidentiality essential. Request direct discussion with ownership. No mention of Dylan. No hint of connection. I wrote and revised for hours, adjusting tone, checking phrasing, making it sound both credible and understated. Years of writing supplier correspondence came back effortlessly. By 9 p.m., I called Mia. Just a simple check-in. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? Her voice sounded distant. Clipped. Busy, Dad. The kids have a full week. You sound tired. Everything okay? A pause, then sharp defensiveness. Everything's fine. Dylan's just working a lot. We're fine. If you ever need... I have to go. Talk soon. The line clicked. I sat there for a long while. Phone still in my hand, staring at the glow of the laptop screen. The half-written email waiting, patient as a plan forming in silence. She hung up before I could respond. The apartment fell quiet. Only the soft glow of my laptop cutting through the dark. The email to Matthew Webb sat finished but unsent. Timing mattered. Always had. I decided to wait until morning. Make it seem like the first move of a new business day. Purposeful. Deliberate. I organized the desk like a project launch. Reynolds's final report. My own photographs. Financial summaries. Dealership research. Beside them, a single handwritten page titled Objectives. Expose Dylan professionally. Protect Mia and the grandchildren financially. Secure their future. Not revenge. Not anger. Strategy. I saved everything into the encrypted folder. Family Security 2025. Then I backed it up physically, sealed inside the drawer that held my father's old watch and the sale documents from Haven Tools. Tomorrow morning, I'd send a message about the Rolls-Royce. Because business, even personal business, always comes down to timing. My finger hovered over the trackpad, then drifted to save draft instead. I'd spent 40 years learning patience. 12 more hours wouldn't change the outcome. But the foundation was there. The research complete. The next move mapped. Dylan believed I was retired, reduced, irrelevant. He was about to learn the distinction between downsizing and strategic repositioning. Wednesday morning, 9:17. The Prestige Motors contact form glowed on my screen. I'd rewritten the message 3 times, adjusting phrasing until the tone landed precisely. Credible but reserved, intriguing without excess detail. I typed the name, Robert Hutchinson. The new email address, created for this purpose, auto-filled neatly. Subject, Inquiry, investment-grade vehicle for private collection. The message was brief. Interest in rare luxury vehicles with long-term appreciation potential. Mention of the Rolls-Royce Cullinan inventory. Emphasis on confidentiality and direct coordination with ownership. No trace of Dylan. No mention of family. Just a serious buyer with serious capital. I reread it 3 times, scanning for any thread that could link Robert Hutchinson back to Marcus. Nothing. Clean. Controlled. The cursor hovered. Then whoosh. The email vanished into digital space. First move made. I closed the laptop, brewed coffee, and forced myself into the rhythm of routine. Headlines, markets, correspondence. Though my mind kept drifting back to the inbox. The reply came at 2:43 p.m. From Matthew Webb, not a sales associate. Webb himself. Professional, courteous, and very interested. Yes, they had the Cullinan Series 2 for $170,000. Exceptional condition, ready for immediate sale. He included his direct office line and proposed a private showing away from showroom traffic. Exactly what I'd hoped for. By handling the sale personally, Webb would bypass the commission structure entirely and Dylan with it. Perfect. I waited 2 hours before responding. Couldn't appear overeager. My reply was concise. Available to meet this week. Cash transaction possible. Appreciate your discretion. 30 minutes later, Webb's answer arrived. Tomorrow afternoon, private office appointment. Bring ID for preliminary paperwork. Everything was in motion now. That evening, I prepared the way I used before major supplier negotiations. Precise, calm, methodical. Visited the bank. Secured a cashier's check for $100,000. Payable to Prestige Motors Miami. Purchased a new leather portfolio. Understated, professional. Laid out tomorrow's clothing. Business casual, pressed but modest. Thursday afternoon, I drove to the dealership, but parked 2 blocks away in a public garage. No need for early recognition. Visibility would come later on my terms. 8-minute walk. Cool breeze. Heart steady. I entered through the side entrance, exactly as Webb had instructed. The receptionist was expecting me. Polite smile, crisp professionalism. Mr. Hutchinson? Right this way. She led me upstairs to Webb's office. 2nd floor, overlooking the showroom through one-way glass. Webb rose to greet me. Early 60s, tailored suit, easy confidence. Firm handshake. Offered coffee. The office was curated like a museum of success. Mahogany desk, automotive photography. Sales trophies gleaming under recessed lights. Below, through the tinted glass, I could see the floor of the showroom, the polished cars, the carefully staged lighting, and somewhere down there, Dylan, unaware the game had already begun. Through the tinted glass, I spotted him. Dylan, animated, confident, charming a customer near the BMW display. Every gesture rehearsed, every smile calculated. He thrived here, on admiration, on the illusion of authority. The Rolls-Royce Cullinan stood nearby, drenched in spotlights, its obsidian surface reflecting every glimmer from the showroom floor. Webb began the familiar high-end introduction. Brand legacy, craftsmanship, exclusivity. But I raised a hand gently. Mr. Webb, I said, I've done my research. That vehicle's been sitting in your inventory for 7 months. I'd like to make this simple. His eyebrows lifted slightly, curiosity overtaking routine. You've done your homework, he said. Yes, it's been a showcase piece, waiting for the right collector. That's one way to describe it. I reached inside my jacket, removed an envelope, not from a wallet, not uncertain, but with the precision of someone used in negotiation. I slid it across the polished desk. I'm ready to place a $100,000 deposit today, remaining $365,000 on delivery. But I have 2 conditions. Webb opened the envelope. The cashier's check gleamed under the office light. His expression shifted from polite interest to genuine engagement. This wasn't a browser. This was a buyer. I'm listening. First, I said, this transaction stays strictly between us until delivery. No sales floor involvement. No staff awareness. He hesitated. That's uncommon. May I ask the reason? I value privacy, I replied. In my experience, large purchases attract the wrong kind of attention. Sales chatter, family assumptions, unnecessary questions. I prefer to act quietly and reveal publicly when I choose. Webb studied me for a beat, then nodded. Understood. And second, I continued, when the vehicle is ready, I'll collect it personally, during normal business hours, unannounced. I want the authentic showroom experience when I take delivery. He looked mildly puzzled but did the math. 7 months of inventory. 1 legitimate, full-price buyer. A large commission for himself. That can be arranged, he said finally. We spent the next 40 minutes reviewing forms, signing documents, and finalizing terms. For weeks for detailing and final inspection. Early April delivery. As the meeting wound down, conversation eased. Webb spoke proudly of the dealership's legacy, his staff, their dedication. I let a casual note enter my tone. You built a fine operation. My son-in-law actually works for you, Dylan. A flicker of recognition, and then a carefully neutral mask. Dylan? Yes, one of our senior managers. So you're family by marriage. I smiled faintly. That's right. We don't mix business and family. Keeps things simpler. I see. I stood, closing my portfolio. It'll be interesting to see his face when I arrive for pickup. I haven't mentioned my interest in high-end vehicles. It'll be quite the surprise. Webb's look shifted, not suspicion, but dawning comprehension. He understood this wasn't just a purchase. But the paperwork was signed, deposit cleared, contract binding. He extended his hand. We'll contact you 48 hours before delivery. Perfect. I exited through the side corridor, sunlight sharp after the tinted calm of the showroom. Walked the 8 minutes back to the garage. Only once seated in the Corolla did I let the tension drain from my shoulders. 3 minutes of stillness, the hum of distant traffic, before I turned the key. Back home, I opened my laptop, marked the date, April 3rd, delivery, added recurring reminders, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3. Beneath the final reminder, I typed the phrase, Dylan's Reckoning, then immediately deleted it. No written motives, not even here. I checked my financials, $100,000 deposited, $365,000 reserved for completion. The rest, $23.2 million, untouched. Justice, it turned out, was affordable. On the wall, the framed photo from Haven Tools' grand opening caught the light. My younger self, sleeves rolled up, standing by the shop door. Building value, brick by brick. That's all this was, a new kind of construction. For weeks until Dylan learned what real leverage looked like. For weeks until the illusion collapsed. I closed the laptop, a quiet anticipation thrumming beneath the calm, the kind I hadn't felt in years, since the final expansion of my business. The anticipation of a plan about to complete itself. Thursday morning, 10:07. The phone rang. Mr. Hutchinson? This is Matthew Webb. Came the voice, steady, professional. Your vehicle is ready. When would you like to collect it? I glanced at the clock. I'll be there within the hour. Excellent. Everything was ready. After hanging up, I moved with quiet precision. Removed my decent wristwatch. Replaced it with a cheap digital one from the back of my drawer. Pulled on faded jeans, a gray jacket with frayed elbows, and old work boots I'd kept since my hardware store days. I studied the reflection in the mirror. A man of 63, unremarkable, modest. Exactly the image Dylan expected. Exactly what would make the contrast hit, like a hammer. I pocketed the keys, stepped into the corridor, and headed for the car. The drive to Prestige Motors took 30 minutes. At a red light, my reflection flickered in the side mirror. Thrift store clothes, a decade-old sedan. But behind my own eyes, I saw something that had been missing for 2 years. Purpose. The light turned green. I drove on. The dealership appeared ahead, glass facade gleaming, showroom bright under designer lights. Inside, chrome leather perfection, salesmen in fitted suits, polished smiles, controlled luxury. I parked the Corolla right in front, in the visitor lot. No hiding, no hesitation. Through the glass, I saw Dylan, near the Mercedes section mid-pitch, selling to a couple, all charisma and confidence. I stepped inside. The chime above the door sounded soft, deliberate. The receptionist smiled. Good afternoon. But I walked past her, straight toward the Rolls-Royce Cullinan, the centerpiece under its spotlight. Black, immaculate. The light slid across its curves like liquid glass. Movement caught Dylan's eye. He looked over mid-sentence. His expression shifted, confusion, irritation, and then something else, embarrassment, the realization that someone from his lesser family had entered his temple of status. I circled the Rolls slowly, fingertips brushing the mirror-finish hood, peered through the window at the cream leather seats, opened the door, smooth, weighty hinge. He excused himself and approached, stiff smile painted on. Marcus, he said tightly, what are you doing here? I looked up, calm, admiring this. It's impressive. His jaw tightened. This isn't a browsing space. These are vehicles for serious buyers. Conversations around us faltered. Attention shifted. I kept my composure, examining the dash. I was wondering about a test drive. That did it. His temper snapped, his voice rising sharp enough to slice the silence. A test drive? You can't afford the insurance on this car, let alone the payment. The room stilled. Every head turned. The couple he'd been speaking with froze. The receptionist lowered her phone. I didn't move. still holding the door handle, gaze steady. "You need to leave," he barked. "You're embarrassing yourself." I studied the steering wheel, the fine stitching. As though he weren't there at all, he raised his voice again. "You can't even afford to test drive this car. You think someone in a tiny apartment can handle a $500,000 vehicle?" The space went silent, except for his voice. Salesmen stared. A customer near the Bentley section looked away. Dylan spun toward the security desk. "Jason, get him out of here. He's disturbing clients." The guard, mid-40s, uneasy, rose from his chair, radio in hand, uncertain. "Remove him," Dylan snapped. "He's wasting our time." Jason hesitated. Something about the scene didn't add up. "Now!" Dylan shouted. And then the office door upstairs opened. Matthew Webb descended slowly, every step echoing across the marble floor. The crowd parted instinctively. He stopped at the base of the stairs. Surveyed everything, Dylan red-faced and shouting, me calmed by the Rolls-Royce, Jason frozen mid-motion. When Webb spoke, his voice was sharp as cut glass. "Dylan, my office. Now!" "Mr. Webb, this man." Webb raised a hand. I said now. Then, to me, "Mr. Hutchinson, my apologies for the disturbance. Your vehicle is ready, and the paperwork is waiting." The air changed. Dylan blinked. "Vehicle?" His voice cracked. Webb continued, precise and merciless. "The Rolls-Royce Cullinan you purchased is finalized. The title documents are in my office. Jason, please bring Mr. Hutchinson's paperwork." Jason straightened immediately. "Yes, sir." Webb turned his attention back to Dylan. "You just tried to have my customer forcibly removed. A customer who purchased the most expensive car in our inventory. He let that hang. You're terminated. Clear your belongings. 30 minutes. Silence fell heavy as snowfall. Dylan's mouth opened, closed, open again. No words came. HR would contact him. His access card to be left at reception. Webb's tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. He turned to me. "Let's complete your paperwork upstairs." I nodded and followed. Didn't look back. Jason passed us halfway, folder in hand. Behind me, I heard Dylan's voice crack, desperate. "This isn't over. You hear me, old man? You'll regret this." I paused on the third step. Didn't turn. Webb didn't either. "Dylan," he said, his voice calm and lethal, "security will escort you out if necessary. Leave now." I continued upward. From the one-way glass in Webb's office, I watched him below, collecting a small box from his desk, moving mechanically, shoulders slumped. Colleagues avoided his eyes. Phones suddenly needed attention. The door chimed as he walked out, and the showroom returned to its sterile hum. Webb exhaled, shutting the door behind us. "That was uglier than I expected," he said quietly. I sat, same chair, same desk as before. "He made his choices," I replied. Webb slid the final folder toward me. The title transfer forms. I signed each line deliberately. Below, through the glass, Dylan's Porsche rolled out of the lot at 1:47 p.m. The same car he'd once bragged about, now carried him away from everything he thought he owned.